Chrissy would ride for Jim, they said, but she's begging in the middle of traffic, and paramedics were on their knees sobbing uncontrollably. You had to remove her from the sidewalk, but why was Jim Jones just a few hours ago taken from his studio in handcuffs, humiliated and exposed? You know who said it was Camron's parents, not the media, not even the police officers' relatives, but they leaked freaking voice notes that were deleted instead of a video. It appears to be a wildfire, and to make matters worse, the video wasn't just anyone, it was someone too close to Jim. Chrissy's comments give the impression that the relationship is still going strong. This is not a hip-hop drama or a love story, and the amount of betrayal was unprecedented at the time. The documentary's CCTV footage was taken at her hotel, and she was unaware that everything had already fallen in the burner account. Before things took a terrible turn, Chrissy told people that she was being followed, not by fans or paparazzi, but by what insiders now refer to as many private surveillance units. According to accounts, Camron's cousin was once employed by a reputable private security firm and is currently a private security guard. She also whispered under her breath, a breath that made even the police feel cold. As one anonymous source put it, they're not just watching her, they're waiting for something. No one knows what that something is, but Chrissy's terrified reaction when she was spotted in New Jersey at a gas station, shaking hands, pacing back and forth while whispering on the phone, told the entire story. And this is where it really starts. Camron's aunt is going insane. Politicians are tracking Chrissy's movements for undesirable reasons. The same woman who once got into a fight with Chrissy in the early 2000s after a backstage incident at the BET Awards revealed a handwritten letter to a gossip website in which she said Chrissy was the one who told police about Jim's covert meeting with his old gang members who were under federal surveillance. If this surveillance is true, then isn't just betrayal, it's war. Let's take a moment to clarify that isn't tabloid rumors. The letter is signed, dated, and has a single phrase burned through it. The streets yelled at Chrissy, the informant, and blogs went crazy. One post on Black Twitter said, "As if El Chapo, the girl snitched and then wept on Instagram Live." Another person said, "I don't believe it," adding that she sobbed excessively, which is guilt rather than sadness. Paige Chrissy was always aware that the streets were built for Jim and that she was performing with the cleaning crew to protect her own skin. Now, about that damaged video. After the letter was rejected, Camron's family was released, and they called the video the last straw. It began with security footage showing Jim in a rooftop lounge in Manhattan delivering an enigmatic envelope to a hooded figure who is quietly unwinding before she departs at the end of the video after 5 minutes of watching an Uber nervously scan the block. FBI jackets, gyms, blazing lights, and handcuffs. But this is where the cousin who posted the video added a caption. She led him there and knew that there was a setup theory at play because it began to outstrip YouTube, Reddit, and even TikTok. One popular thread described it as if it were a scene from a movie, where Chrissy persuades Jim to make amends with his elder. In scene 2, she unintentionally suggests a time and location while knowing that the feds are already watching. A story from the past stated, "In certain cases, silence can safeguard the culpable." Advocates believe that was intended for Chrissy. Let's talk about the alleged financial paper trails, which are unverified rumors that said Chrissy opened a new offshore account 2 days ago and made a cool deposit before Jim's arrest. In scene 3, she shows up crying, aware that everyone knew what was going to happen, even though Mona Scott has chosen not to discuss several difficult scenarios. Sent $250,000 to a shell company owned by one of Camron's relatives. Interestingly, no one questioned this. One person even shared a screenshot of the purported transfer with the caption, "She made money for her boyfriend in exchange for money and power." People started spreading stories that claimed Chrissy was a government employee and that Camron's family knew Jim was leaving her for a younger person. According to insiders, Jim is refusing to answer her calls while she is incarcerated. Yes, he left her. The same woman who helped him build comebacks, fight disputes, and stand by him through 12 near breakups. Even now, after everything, he refuses to answer her calls. As Chrissy's court date approaches, she has been spotted attending church services twice while wearing nighttime sunglasses for a week. When we thought the story was over, Camron's sister jumped in and posted a black and white picture of Chrissy and Jim with no caption other than a heartbroken emoji and the words "you knew better." She was constantly checking her phone while walking with her head down, and people close to her said she wasn't sleeping, eating, or sleeping. The woman with the tough exterior, the one who survived the wave of love and hip-hop, Chrissy was famous for everything. Her turbulent relationship with Jim seemed invincible, but at home, the situation was anything but perfect. The public never noticed the late-night arguments or the whispered fears she had. Chrissy received likes in less than 42 hours. The comments were unbroken, and there were cries for her to show up for a full-length reunion program. Been there for Jim for years, despite his legal issues, street relationships, and the constant dangers that loomed over him. But when those handcuffs suddenly snapped around his wrists, it seemed as though the entire world had collapsed. Not because Jim had been arrested, but rather because of what she didn't know. The very people she believed she could rely on had turned into active participants, and the cameras were flashing. Hours after Jim's arrest, the revelations started to pour in through hazy videos of private conversations. In one, Jim is clearly seen having a heated conversation with a woman named Anne. The plans are discussed, not the life he gained, but something darker came like a tidal wave, and Chrissy was drowning. The phone buzzed nonstop, message after message, and the same people Jim once trusted were now the ones dumping lethal proof onto social media. Revealed the same startling truth. Camron's family knew everything, and now everyone else did too. Chrissy felt deceived, and, unlike before, her family was no longer with her. She attempted to keep her composure, but the leaks continued, and eventually the tears came. The public couldn't stop using Twitter and Instagram. Some expressed sympathy, while others pointed fingers. The world was desperate for answers, and Chrissy was left with a question she never thought she would have to answer. Wanted to know how much of Jim's life she actually understood, because she had lived with him before. Surprisingly, Jim was suspected of being a suspect in the developing crisis. His arrest was only the first step. Chrissy's life began to fall apart, with shaky foundations, but it wasn't as easy as figuring out whether Jim had contributed to Camron's behavior. The family withheld from M the true reason for the leak, which was that Chrissy wasn't just having problems. The day after she had completed her own visit to the lawyer's office, Chrissy unexpectedly entered the sterile office waiting area, burdened by situations that were straining her shoulders. She was having a lot of trouble coping with Jim's name no longer being used, but the lawyer's next words would completely alter the course of the story. "There's something you need to know," he said quietly, barely above a murmur. "We've been keeping an eye on Camron's family. Members have been accumulating evidence against Jim for a while, waiting for the right opportunity to strike. What you don't realize is that this evidence was never intended for public use. Rather, it's a part of something much bigger." Chrissy's heart raced. Her mind was racing with questions, trying to figure out who was pulling the threads that led to this chaos, what Camron's family was actually trying to accomplish, and most importantly, was Jim the man she believed him to be? Or had she been blinded by love all along? As the years passed, Chrissy felt more and more anxious. The rumors became more frantic, and the frequency of leaks increased. She tried to remain composed, but it was difficult. That feeling that something was missing persisted until late one night when, while she was searching through her phone once more, she received a message from an unknown number. The information was brief. "You don't realize how bad things are?" Her hands trembled as she clicked the link, and what she saw astounded her. A brand new video had appeared that she had never seen before, but this time Jim wasn't on screen. Instead, it was someone she had never imagined. Jim was speaking with Camron in front of his closest friends and coworkers, and it was obvious that the conversation was serious. Jim wasn't supposed to fall first. It had all been a planned move that, if successful, Jim had worked hard to build an entire empire. But Chrissy had been caught in the bloodiest part of it all without realizing the games being played right in front of her. As the screen went black and her reality came back, Chrissy collapsed again. This wasn't just a scandal involving her. It was one where she was at the E-Center watching that final video, which completely destroyed everything she believed about Jim, her life, and even herself. Darker than she had anticipated, she was unaware that Jim was a part of a more dangerous game that was meticulously planned by people she had trusted. In the midst of everything, Chrissy found herself torn between loyalty and treachery, and the need for answers was growing. The leaked video showed Camron being abruptly approached by a stranger. The man who had called Jim his brother was laughing with one of Jim's closest friends. The exchange appeared to be informal, but it was clear that they were in danger. They weren't talking business. Instead, they were planning a collapse that was much bigger than Chrissy had expected, and in the sparse background, she was unconscious of the chaos that surrounded her. Chrissy had been the faithful girlfriend, but she was unaware of the true motivations, and as she watched the video again, her mind was racing with questions about how long she had missed the warning signs and whether Cameron's family had been affected. Then the texts started coming in. The video's popularity exploded. Gossip websites and social media platforms lit up, and everyone was uttering Chrissy's name, but it wasn't the support she had hoped for. The comment sections were full of accusations, judgment, and hate, and what role did she truly play? She had unknowingly served as a means to an end. Jim's actions? How long had she remained silent? Chrissy could barely see the screen through her tears. The world was watching her, not just the scandal. In the middle of the chaos, the person she needed the most was in jail. Jim's silence abandoned her, but Chrissy was not one to give up, even though she was depressed and alone. She had lived her entire life in the spotlight, subject to in-depth analysis, and if anyone knew how to survive, it was she had developed. A career on reality TV while fiercely protecting her private life. But now that it was on full display in the most explosive way possible, the first step was obvious. She needed to know everything. In the middle of the night, Chrissy made a decision that would change everything. She called Camron, a move right out of Cameron's playbook that could either save her or destroy her. Camron wasn't just anyone, though. He was powerful and had his own agenda, but Chrissy felt there was nothing left to lose, so she had to go straight to the source if she wanted the truth. The phone call was awkward every time there was a pause, like a mind waiting to explode. Her voice faltered at first, but she soon found her strength. "I know what you've done. She've been behind the leaked videos, and I'd like to know why you're lying." The process of doing this to Jim took a long time, and when Chrissy believed he was about to hang up, Cameron's voice could be heard as he said, "You don't understand it." He went on to say, "It's not about Jim. You're the focus, not Jim, with your loyalty. You are the one who has stood in the way for so long, offering protection for someone without knowing the full story about him." Chrissy felt the blood drain from her face. What does Jim's inner face mean? Camron continued too deeply. He's been using ropes to execute moves with people. You don't realize that you've been blinded by love, but it's too late, and there's no turning back now. Chrissy's grip on the phone tightened. "So you think that you'll hurt him and us?" "However," Camron said icily, "I'm not going to release anything that will harm anyone." The truth is that Jim has been hiding for too long, and Chrissy was suddenly left standing in the middle of the room, her mind racing. Camron acknowledged everything, but there was more than that. He assured her that there was a bigger picture, and that she would not stand by and watch as everyone in her immediate neighborhood destroyed the life she had fought for. In the days that followed, Chrissy investigated Cameron's background, his relationships, and his true intentions. She wanted to know why she was collecting the pieces of the puzzle, and the things she found left her family in shock, as well as several other important people. Jim was utilized as a backstage pawn in a larger game that involved financial dominance and a power struggle involving multiple companies, not just street beef or old grudges. Chrissy's truth was then revealed to the public, which completely altered everything. The pictures, videos, and texts that were made public were a ruse. They weren't merely revealing secrets about Chrissy and Jim. Rather, they were meant to shatter her and cause her to doubt everything she had ever known. As the drama unfolds, we're only just starting to look into it. Will Chrissy play a part in this incredible story? Will she eventually admit her involvement in Jim's confinement? Or is this where it ends? There is no doubt that a breach of trust has occurred, and this story is far from over. She had to act in a way that would save her life, and her beloved Chrissy wasn't just leaving. She wasn't finished yet. But we'd like to know if you think Chrissy was innocent at the time of the incident, if she was just an observer caught in a maze, or if something darker is happening. Please share your thoughts in the space provided below, and don't forget to hit the like button. If you're as shocked by this turn of events as we are, don't miss the next updates, and make sure to subscribe and activate the alert bell so you're the first to know when the next big drama occurs. Watch this space for the unvarnished truth. If you thought it was crazy, don't worry. The real mystery is only beginning.